Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. In this video, I'm going to be talking about ground cover junipers, specifically using ground cover junipers on slopes, like behind me here. This is a neighbor of mine, a friend of mine. This is one of the best examples of blue rug junipers on a slope that I've ever seen. He does a great job of keeping these in great shape. He keeps them weeded. He fertilizes them in the spring. I think he probably puts a second application of fertilizer on them in the early to mid-summer. He keeps them pruned here neatly around the bottom, and it's just a great example of how nice these blue rug junipers can be on a slope, but they do require some maintenance. I think a lot of people will try to plant these junipers on banks in place of growing grass or having to mow on a slope like that, or having a hard time growing grass on a slope like this, and they're looking for zero maintenance, and that's just not the case. It's less maintenance, you know, than maintaining turf on it or mowing turf on it, but it's not zero maintenance. This is blue rug juniper here in a 3-gallon container. You can probably more cost effectively do these in 1-gallon containers if you can find them in 1-gallon containers. They can be placed anywhere between 3 and 6 feet apart on a slope like this. The closer you put them together, obviously, the quicker they're going to get filled in. It looks to me, I can kind of see the original plantings on here, that these were probably done about 4 feet apart. He did 3 rows, from about halfway up the slope and up. No real reason to plant down at the very bottom. Most of the growth goes downward. You know, gravity just kind of pulls them down the hill over time. So most of your plants need to be in the upper 2/3 of the slope, and then, you know, in staggered rows. So you'll do 1 row across the top, and then the row right below it will be the next row will be centered in the middle of the upper row. And like I say, he's got 3 rows on this. One thing I see frequently when people do this, they try to plant the plants straight down like this and dig weird holes around them like that. Really, they need to go in at the angle of the bank. So dig your hole, you know, at whatever angle the bank is, and just plant them flush in like that. No problem. Blue rug junipers and other junipers, I'm going to show you 7 different varieties in a minute that you could use for this application. They're actually their own worst enemy. They don't like wet feet. That's what makes them great on slopes like this, because they typically don't stay wet. But in time, they grow so tightly that ultimately they can start to hold some water in place. So make sure you're cleaning up your leaves in the fall if you have any trees around them. They like full sun, so they wouldn't want to be up under trees anyway. But if any leaves or anything are blowing into it, any debris, make sure you're getting trash out, debris out, weeds out, anything that would add to them already holding too much water in place. I mean, this mat of junipers right here is staying wetter than the juniper would actually like to keep it. I mean, you know, it's like I said, their own worst enemy that way. So make sure you're cleaning it up in the fall. And that's pretty much it. I mean, this is going to be, you know, prune them if they're getting longer than you need them to get. You can weed them, keep them weeded. And you need to stay on top of it, because if it ever gets out of control, it can be one of those things that's just hard to readdress in the future. And then the spacing needs to be as close as you can afford. And, you know, using smaller containers is fine. You can get about 1 foot of growth a year out of these, is what I've been my experience. So if you planted them, you know, 4 feet apart, you'd need, you know, maybe 3 years to fill it in completely. And in that time, you know, you're going to have some weeds in between them and that kind of thing. I like to mulch with pine straw, if pine straw is available in your area on these, because it just dries out a little better. It doesn't wash off the bank as much. It tends to lock itself in a little better. These blue rug junipers are hardy in zone 3 to 9, and I'm going to show you other varieties right now. As always, Holly is out here supervising, making sure I'm getting the correct information out. This is blue rug juniper. This is the one I showed you at my friend's house. This is Bar Harbor. They're very, very similar all summer long. Bar Harbor tends to turn a little bit of a purple color in the wintertime. It's really quite beautiful. Both of these stay less than 1 foot tall and are hardy in zone 3 to 9. They're probably the 2 most commonly used ones. This is Blue Pacific next to it. It's probably my favorite one for this type of application. Grows a hair taller, but not much, and has this beautiful blue-green foliage on it. It's not quite as cold hardy. It's hardy in zone 5 to 9. This is a gold version of Blue Pacific juniper. Keep in mind that gold foliage plants tend to grow a little slower than their green counterparts. So this one may frustrate you a little bit, but I wanted to put this one out here because it is a beautiful plant and it would work. And that gold foliage is really holding up well. It's mid to late summer now, and sometimes these gold foliage conifers are kind of rough looking toward the end of summer, and this one still looks fantastic. This is Procumbens Nana Juniper. It's hardy in zone 3 to 9. A little too slow growing for my liking for this type of application where we're trying to cover a bank. There's another one called Blue Star that's similar. I think they're beautiful plants, but they're a little too slow to cover a bank in a reasonable amount of time. The next one right here is called Andorra compacta. It's going to get closer to 2 feet. The next two I'm going to show you. And there's a lot of junipers that would fall into this group that are going to get closer to 2 feet instead of 1. But I wanted to show you Andorra compacta because it's soft to the touch. And if you got to get in them and clean them, that certainly makes for much easier maintenance. If it doesn't bite back, the other junipers can be very, very prickly. It also allows the ground underneath it to dry out a little more. So over the long haul, it's not as likely to die from root rot. This isn't a great specimen. It's a little brown in the middle. This is all I had left from the spring. This one turns a beautiful purple color in the wintertime, and it's just one of my favorite junipers. Sometimes you can use this type of taller juniper up near the top, and then one of these lower growing ground cover junipers below it, just to create two height layers. This one at the end is called Gray Owl. It's also one that's going to get in that 2 foot range. Beautiful, beautiful foliage on it. It's also pretty soft to the touch as well, but I really like that plant. And there are probably 2 dozen more varieties of junipers that only get 2 feet tall like these do, and could be used, like I say, as a layer at the top. And then these other choices for the lower growing ones go down below that. So thank you very much for watching this video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for future videos.